Hey there, and happy Friday. Let me share my screen here. This is the Ask SelfRecruiter career advice blog. Gosh, today we have a lot of really good questions. By the way, if you're not getting your question answered, please send it in. You just send it to ask@selfrecruiter.com. That's ask@selfrecruiter.com. All the best ones will be included here each week. In case you have not seen me before, John Krant, author, career coach, and speaker, resume and LinkedIn guru as well. So if your career brand is not really getting the shine, luster, spotlight, staging it deserves, I know exactly who you should work with. All my packages are over on my SelfRecruiter website, just under the services tab. And if you need to chat before you know which one is right for you, just send me a quick email and we'll set up a time to talk. Let's jump into today. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about. All of today's questions are really going to center on how to find a new job. So many methods to finding a new job, but let's start out by telling you what is pure tragedy. Pure tragedy is sitting on the internet looking for job postings. That's your whole job search, the entirety of your job search. In my view, and everything here is my opinion, you're wasting 50% of your time, because about half of all of those job postings don't really represent real jobs they're ready to hire for today. So let's think out of the box about how we find our new job. And here's 7 questions to help you deal with it. First question is, how can I be ready to look for a new job? Well, good luck on this one. This is really partly an emotional question, partly a, did I get my ducks in order? On the emotional side, I'm not sure we're ever ready. If we are thinking about looking for a new job, there's probably something beginning to eat away at us, beginning to eat away at our happiness. Confidence becomes a very slippery slope. So we have to mentally get ourselves in the right place. And that means the rest of the physical things that have to be ready. Is your resume ready? Is your LinkedIn profile ready? Is your cover letter ready? All of these things have to be aligned and elevated to sing your praises, to make your outreach, your ability to find this new job much, much easier. So let's start by, if you haven't prepared your marketing materials to be ready for today's market, that's your resume, LinkedIn, cover letter. If those are not ready, work on those first. I have my resume renovation video, my building your professional network and brand with LinkedIn. All of those will help you quite a bit. And there's a great cover letter article right over on my website under the advice tab. That's selfrecruiter.com. That's how we're going to be ready. And then also know that you will never feel ready. So you're going to have to go or start when you are ready enough. When you're ready enough, that's when we start, because otherwise you will never be ready and you'll be stuck behind the 8 ball. Next question, how can I build my contact network for my job search? Contact network, I tell you, the thing we don't think about the contact network is who lives right next door, or just above or below us if you live here in New York City, or who that person's parent or child might be, or in-law, or one of their extended neighbors, or someone in their social circle. Whether it's the people around us, or the people in our professional life around us, or the people we may randomly run into on occasion out in the real world. Every one of them can potentially change our future. So to me, networking is about constantly adding new people to your Rolodex, contact file, however you like to think about it. Another great way to add to your contact network is when you do find the courage to start your job search and begin to do outreach. At some point, you may run into someone that says, great background, but gosh, we just filled this role. Timing. Oh, I'm off on timing. I know you would have loved to get that job, but since you didn't get that job, somebody else took it. Let's not lose sight of the fact that there's, first off, this is a great person you're networking with. Add them to your contact file, and then also pick their brain. Jack, Jim, or Jill, if you had my background, who's the best person in the industry you network with? Who's the best person at this? Which company would you look at? So many different questions we could ask them to pick our brain that would all lead us to potential new contacts through referrals. By the way, another way to great way to build your contact network and your referral process is to read your industry information, read your trade magazines and whatever else might be collected niche websites for your field. Oh, there's going to be lots of them sprinkled all over there that can begin to build a contact network for you and enhance your effectiveness. So much more we can do there, just getting started. Next question, what should I do to maximize results from a networking event? I'm tempted to say maybe I wouldn't attend. That might maximize the results. The problem with networking events is we have a complete misperception. We think, oh, I have to go to this networking event. I have to pull up my card. I have to sell myself. Blood begins to drain right out of you when you have to do that. I get it. But that's, and there's a little bit of truth, I really am there to sell myself in a little tiny bit of way. But in a networking event, what I'm really there for is to be the most interested person in the room. Oh, what brought you here today? Oh, how'd you get into that? Oh, no, where'd you work before you worked there? Oh, what was it like over there? Oh, do you know Jack? That person. Easy, simple. There's only 4, 5, 6 questions, and I think you can probably guess what they are. They're pretty soft, innocuous questions to lead someone up onto the soapbox and then let them talk. Let them spill the beans about their industry, their company, what's going on in their own job search, the challenges that they're dealing with and how they're dealing with it, how they keep up to date. Do you realize every single person possesses a different sphere of information? Oh, yes, there's some overlap, but there are so many things to learn if we understand we don't have all the answers. Listening is the #1 way. Listening and collecting information. And at the end, when they all run out of oxygen, they'll go, but what about you, John? Oh. Well, now, since you're listening, I'd love to tell you a very short little snippet about me, which is selling. That's the proper networking event, how to maximize your results from it. Next question today, should I reach out to HR or to decision makers at companies? Now, this may seem like a trick question. Answer is really simple. If you would like to work within the HR department, my opinion, don't forget everything I'm teaching you here is my opinion. My opinion is you're going to the right person. That is the department that is going to hire you. In fact, HR does not hire a single other person within the company. They hire HR individuals. That's the only people they hire. They do facilitate the rest, which makes it seem like they hire the rest, but they don't. They're not the decision maker. So, long way to tell you, if you don't want to work within HR, there's so much more advantage to going right to the decision maker. First off, if you're going to HR, that's 1,000 to 2,000 resumes being sent into HR. If that's any kind of a decent job, oh, that's a decent job. 1,000, 2,000 resumes. Now, don't mishear that. That is not 1,000 to 2,000 qualified individuals. They see a great job and they all throw their hat in the ring thinking, oh, there must be some job around that. Ends up with 90, 95% of those 2,000 just clogging the system, causing snow blindness, resume blindness, whatever we want to think of it as. Get to the decision maker and maybe you're being distracted by 10 or 15 other competitors. Well, I'd rather compete with 10 or 15 other people than 1,000 to 2,000 other people for that attention. So to me, let's reach right out to the decision makers, and lots of language of how to do that in all my other long form lectures that are on my YouTube channel. Check them out. I'm not going to cover that here today. Reach out to those decision makers. They're the ones that are feeling the pain. They're the ones that would understand your value and would respond right. Just 90 seconds of conversation with the decision maker changes everything. Question, why should I hire you over all others that I see? Well, this one doesn't belong in today's lecture. We're going to skip that one. Somehow that slide made it in here. How to best utilize the tools for job search, platforms and websites. So whether we're looking at Monster, Indeed, LinkedIn, all of these various websites and platforms and many beyond those all have tools built in. Even Google Alerts. Oh my gosh, there's so many alerts you can set up across these various tools to simplify your process, to get potential jobs that could be of interest to you delivered to your inbox. Much quicker to do a quick perusal there than to lose half your day looking across all of the websites when half of those job postings aren't real in the first place, in my opinion. So really set up each alert. Think about your industry, think about the challenges, think about the different players, and come up with the right combination of tools, and probably set up 4, 5, 6 slightly different alerts that will all feed potential jobs and interest your direction. One way to really simplify your entire job search. Next question, how can I use social media in my job search? My goodness. This one needs a whole 90-minute lecture, and I have one. It's called Career Evolution, Preparing for Your Career's Next Leap with Social Media Marketing. That's really my part 2 to my LinkedIn lecture. So watch my Building Your Professional Brand with LinkedIn and how to use it for your job search, but then continue on to watch Career Evolution. Once you have the right LinkedIn profile, how do you build and use a marketing campaign across social media? But let's give some other basic answers here. Social media use is how you can be either ruled in or ruled out very quickly. So what we're thinking about here is hiding away or running away or not participating in the chatter of social media. That's not necessarily going to help you. And when they see the chatter, that may get you ruled out. But you can use social media as a tool, and you can seed certain things about you to social media. Very similar to this, as if you were looking over my shoulder, seeing what I'm reading, doing, sharing, attending, involved with, and it better be living and breathing my profession, paid or unpaid. By the way, there's no pay here today, lots of passion. Let them see your passion. Passion does not require payment. That's a person they're going to want to add to their team. Careful use of social media. Few words of commentary, along with the title, along with the link, extremely short because no one wants to read. Something as simple as, what a great take on, there's my opinion, best practices for exactly what I do, there's what I do, with a link. Somebody else wrote it. Or if I'm not sure I agree with best practices for exactly what I do with a link, or even if I don't like it, couldn't disagree more with best practices for exactly what I do with a link. Lots more on social media in the Career Evolution lecture. Check that one out. Should I work with staffing agencies? My goodness, this is our final question for the day before a little bit of a wrap up. Staffing agencies, recruiting agencies. I think you may remember I have 7 or 8 years in outside recruitment. That's a traditional headhunter on a desk, having to go into the superstar competitors, lure them out. Staffing generally refers to hourly, but staffing, recruiting, permanent placement, let's throw it all in one bucket right now. Should you work with them? Very likely. Should some of you avoid them? Very likely. So sorry for the mixed message. If you have a cookie cutter, perfect background, you should absolutely be working with a recruiting agency or staffing agency, not as your only road to your future, because there's really no loyalty back to you there. They're just looking to place anybody. They don't really care who they place, no matter how they make it sound. But the good ones will place good candidates. You may get activity if you're not cookie cutter perfect, but really you're usually a fill in the blank minutia where there's superstars all around you. Doesn't necessarily work to your benefit. They could be throwing you out there as the slaughtered lamb right before they deliver the candidate they want right behind you. But if you're perfect, they can get you that job. If we're not so perfect, you know what? You're going to do much better going directly. Go directly to that decision maker, introduce yourself, get the job. So use it if you have a perfect background. Largely avoid staffing and recruiting if you have a less than perfect background. Let's give you some numbers here to put it in perspective. I worked for one of the very good recruiting firms out there, and there's not too many of those, but these were really good folks. You can see them in my background. I'd highly recommend any of them that are in the network. But good recruiter, you know, for every 100 people that you identify as a good, solid candidate, not just capable, qualified, interchangeable. Oh, good candidate. For every 100, you place 1 to 2 ever, not just this time. So even in the best recruiting firms, it does become a numbers game, a little bit of a meat grinder. They have to chew in and find a lot of great candidates to sift out the 1 or 2 nuggets of gold that they actually place. And during that time, if they think they're not going to place you, behind the scenes, they can do things strategically that may prevent you from getting the job. So let's learn how to go directly. Oh my gosh, that brings us to the end of today's Ask SelfRecruiter. Today's is really about how to begin, start, energize your job search. I think you already know that there's a couple things that have to happen. First off, across all your materials, small changes change everything. Really, it's such a disservice to yourself to start your job search with defective materials that don't elevate and position your brand as desirable. So many people I work with have amazing backgrounds, but on paper, it's like, we can fix that. Most individuals are a little too close emotionally to take control of the discussion. They can't necessarily see how to tell their story a different way. But I, of course, know who exactly it is that you should work with if you're going to work with someone. Wherever you are in your process, take the first step, learn how to repeat, and get this thing moving. Thank you guys for joining in today. Don't let somebody else think for yourself. And if we didn't cover your question, send your questions into ask@selfrecruiter.com. That's ask@selfrecruiter.com. And I hope you do like, subscribe, hit the bell, all those fun things. Share it with a friend or two. Maybe post it a place or two as well. And I hope you have a great start to your weekend. Take care.